Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my co-partner, Anthony. It's a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony, how you doing?
Well, as you know, I've been practicing my Nagi no Kata for my black belt test. So I'm kind of sore. I mean, technically you shouldn't be sore for the Tori part. I really appreciate not be sore. You shouldn't be sore, but for me, it's my my knee, like the knee that I've been had surgery on. That's what's really sore because all the pivoting and Matthew, even though I'm so thankful for Matthew, if you're listening to this, for helping me do my kata, he's kind of heavy. So there's this one.
Yes, he is a big boy. Yes.
There's that one side of the kata guruma where I have to kneel down really low on this. I think it's my right side, actually. When I kneel down, that's just like so much weight on that side of the leg. It's just kind of like when you have to put your feet together and all that weight's on the right side. It's kind of feels like a single leg squat in a sense. Yeah. So that I didn't even do it that many times. It was only like 5 times total on Saturday, and it was really sore afterwards. But I think it's good rehab for my knee too, because I need to strengthen that side. My left quads are like this big, and then my right quad is like still kind of small. So.
Well, you guys are doing a good job at it. I remember I watched you guys do it. What was it, a week or two ago, last Friday or something? And to me, from what I've seen at other kata, when I did my kata clinics and stuff, when I went to them and I did competition, you guys have it for the most part. Like you guys would definitely probably get like a C, most likely a pass, I would think, but you might get one of those like provisions where it'd be like, you guys passed, but you have to come back in 6 months and demonstrate again. You know,
I blame it on Matthew. I'll just be like, it was Matthew's fault.
It was all Matt's fault. Oh, that fall. He didn't jump high roll enough. Up. He didn't help me out. Yeah, this guy, his legs aren't straight enough. It's all his fault. God. You guys are getting it. It's looking good. Yeah. Hopefully you guys can get this by Christmas and be a nice Christmas present for you, a showdown.
Yeah. I was actually talking to Matthew because he was like, oh man, like I wish this was competition or something. I was like, oh yeah. When everything reopens up, I don't mind going to a kata competition with you. And then he was like, no. He was saying he wished we did it at a competition. So there's like pressure on me to like do better. Yeah. Like he has no interest in going to competition basically. So I'm like, oh, okay. And he keeps making fun of me for, he sees the fear in my eyes and my concentration level when I do yokogake. I'm just like, I'm like permanently, what do you call that? Traumatized by yokogake when I did it with Jorge. I did the uke part with Jorge. And he was, I don't know, like even though Matthew's heavier, the fall's not as bad, but like my mental trauma is there from taking the falls with Jorge.
Well, when Jorge was doing it, he was doing it to you. So if he falls straight down, he's pulling you straight down where.
Yes, he did it correctly. Yeah. And I don't think I did it correctly because I'm afraid of hurting Matthew and all that kind of stuff. So.
Well, say like when you practice with me and you've done it with Matt, like we're black belts, we've done it before. And how I teach to kata for the most part. Like I'm not some great kata guy and stuff. I'm not saying I am, but because I know the kata and because I've done it a bunch of times, I teach it for the most part of my dojo. And when Matt did his kata, we didn't go to a clinic. We went to a tournament and performed it at a tournament. And it was great. Like it was just nerves about going at it. I'm already a black belt at the time. I was like, he's a brown belt, I'm a black belt, and we're doing it together and stuff. And the entire time I'm trying to like make him look good. Cause I'm just rolling and flying and doing all this stuff. Like make him look good, roll up, pause, give that look, turn around, it adds something to it where you're probably just to do it at the dojo in front of me and Philippe, most likely.
Yeah. I know Philippe. I told Philippe I was going to be ready to do it next week.
No way.
Depending on,
get out of here, son.
Depending on Matthew's schedule, because I think he just wants me to get over with for some reason. I don't know why, but I kind of wish that I had more time to make it better. But I'm also kind of sad that once I'm done with this, I kind of want to keep practicing it. And I don't know who I'm going to practice it with because I know Matthew's going to be like, no, I'm done. Like, yeah, I want to keep practicing.
A lot of people are. listening to their kata the first time, just because I have good memories and because I like teaching and helping people out. That's really the reason why I keep going through the kata over again. I don't think anybody else that has really done the kata and get it to black belt really ever does it again. Like some people are like, yeah, I kind of remember it. Like, I guess I can kind of do this and do that. Like, but yeah, no one really, I practice it, at least at our dojo. I'm not saying other dojos or judo thing in general, but once you get your black belt, you do your Nagano kata. It's like, yeah, okay, I've done it. I finished it. I'm not doing it again. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'll work on my second kata later.
I feel like if I do it, I'll have to find someone that's like older, basically, that's into doing kata. So I don't think anyone in our dojo is interested in it, really.
Maybe you do with Tony or something.
Tony doesn't want to do kata, you know, and Tony's so short. Like,
or okay, you want to do when you get your black belt, you can pick on one of like the teenagers, maybe like, hey, get over here. We're in kata right now.
So Javier yesterday, well, you probably noticed that he was doing katsuguruma. I think he saw me doing it while practicing, and he was interested in it. So I think he might actually be into it. Yeah, maybe, I think he listens to this, so maybe we can ask him next time we see him. Hey, you want to do some kata? Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's gonna pick you up for katsuguruma. All right. So in some other business other than Anthony doing his kata stuff, it's been out there already. This is an American thing. International listeners might know about it or care about it all. But in America, we have 3 different judo federations. We have USA Judo, USJF, and USJA. Right now, USJA is picking new board members, or is it? They
have an election, and I think the election's over already, so they're probably going to tally the votes and announce it soon. I don't know when.
Yeah, but I think you have to like another week or 2 to vote. I'm not sure. I know I voted already, but we've been in the news kind of by it because our head instructor Felipe Morote is what's his title exactly?
He's the head of the election committee.
Yeah, the head of the election committee means that he's the one that sent the stuff out, make sure profiles up, pictures and all that. And he has to count the votes. And I'm just going to put this out there. I'm not putting aside of like who I want to pick or who I want to win and stuff. I'm just saying that if you are a black belt and you are in USJA, do vote. It's a very important thing. I know some people just think, oh, whatever, who runs, whatever cares. No, these are people that are going to run judo and set how judo's done in America. All right. Even though we do have 3 federations, this is one of the major federations that runs judo in America. And even if you're an international listener and stuff, like if your own federation has the votes coming up, look at who's running. Vote for who you think is going to best run judo for you and who's going to promote judo in your country. It's not like, I know some people just say like, oh, I just want to do judo at my dojo. I don't care. Like, this is who's running judo. And all your complaints about like, you don't like the way things are run. You don't like katas are done. You don't like how tournaments are run. It goes to by who's running it. So it's very important to vote for who you think's going to run it the best. And that's my little spiel right there. Hope I don't get in trouble or people say we're biased, because I know we have gotten not a flack, but it's like, oh, Hollywood Judo, they're connected to Tatami Talk. I've heard of that from people. It's like, no, I'm not promoting anybody. All right. I'm not promoting anybody myself.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to, I don't want to touch this whole drama thing or thing with a 10-foot pole, but in the end, like in the past, I did say like, if you care about, if you believe that in the federation and what they're doing, you should pay your membership dues and support it. I personally don't like any of the federations, but it is what it is. And our dojo doesn't really get involved in politics. We actually pay our dues to all 3, if I remember correctly. That's why our dojo accepts all 3 federations when we require 1 for you to train here, but we accept all 3. I don't like all 3, but I'm going to have to end up paying for all 3 as an instructor. So
welcome to the club, brother. Yeah. Welcome to the club.
Yeah. I mean, if you had to ask me to pick 1 out of 3, I want to pick USA Judo because I don't want to say I'm a huge fan of Keith Bryant, the CEO, but he did bring before COVID, he did bring the organization's books back into black, and everything's really transparent. I can easily find their financial statements everywhere and see what they spent the money on and everything. And I think that's a good step, even though I'm not happy with how they're marketing judo and spending the money. But I mean, huge improvement over what we had before. If you guys, I'm sure the people older people know what I'm talking about. So,
and this is American Judo here. We have 3 federations. I don't know how it is in other countries. It's like, does Canada have 1 federation or 2?
Yeah,
or
most places only have 1. Like, I'm sure they have some like fringe one. I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but like AAU, like things out on the side.
Actually, technically, America has 4 because there's
AAU, and then there's there's also like American Judo Jiu-Jitsu Federation and like some other ones. So I'm not counting those. I'm sure Canada and Europe has those ones on the side. Like, for example, UK has the biggest one is the BJA, British Judo Association. Mm-hmm. That's like their version of USA Judo, right? And Judo Canada. But for example, there's another pretty popular one. Like Samson Judo. If you watch his YouTube channel, he's part of another federation that's pretty big, but they're not as sports judo oriented as far as I know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's other groups out there basically. Mm-hmm. We're pretty unique in the sense that we have 3 major ones that are all relevant and is quote unquote relevant
in their own ways. Yeah.
For such a small judo population country, it's just interesting. We have 3. You'd think it's the opposite, like, right?
No, it's because we're Americans. We're America. That's why. Yeah. But that's a little thing out there. I want people to know, like, we're not picking one or the other. I'm just promoting just to go vote and vote who you think is going to be the best to run judo at USJA and promote judo and build judo in America. So with that, let's go to something that's more light, I guess you'd say, maybe. Now, we talked about this before. We talked about promotions and belt rankings and belt, like color belts and stuff before. And I talked about this before from my perspective as before the pandemic, I'm big on people going to compete, you know? Now, I understand it's like white belts and yellow belts don't have a whole lot of you shouldn't be on the mat that much going competing. So you get more testing for them. And as you get higher up, you should be competing more. But with the pandemic happening, especially here in the United States, not every state is having tournaments anymore. Like California, we haven't had a tournament here in over a year and a half, almost 2 years now, it seems. Mm-hmm. But other states have tournaments. Like Texas has had tournament. Nevada's going to have some tournaments. Florida's had a bunch of tournaments already. But here in California, where we're at, even here in Los Angeles, there's no tournaments. So someone like me that bases a lot of stuff on your activity at tournaments and watching your improvement from fighting, I can't promote people that way anymore. So I've had to go back to actually testing on what you know and watching your throws. And that's the big thing that Anthony does like, is having people test on a regular basis, knowing their throws left and right and just testing them. So Anthony?
To clarify, I'm not saying you shouldn't compete. I've said in the past, everyone should compete at least once or twice a year, in my opinion. Obviously, considering your health and time and kind of stuff and injuries, but you should compete. It's just that I don't think it should be just tests and just competitions. It needs to be a mix of both, because it looks really bad when you have a brown belt that can't name the basic throws, or a brown belt that can't do a ukemi properly, or someone who's really good at throwing someone, but then they're like a really terrible uke, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just doesn't look good. And we talked about this in previous episodes, but the belt rank just you're wearing the belt. So if you look dumb, it's on you. And also your sensei will give it to you, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like jiu-jitsu has its own way of, they don't have like a official testing thing, but they have their own way of weeding out like people. It's like, oh, you got your belt under this person, so he has to be like at least semi-decent, right? Yeah. But if you have a bunch of people coming to your gym or tournament and they're all like black belts, but they're all like shit, then you know, like, oh, all of this black belts from that gym is like complete garbage. And we kind of have this in judo too. Like, I don't want to start shit, but we do notice some people from some other dojos that aren't at the level that they should be at for the belt they're wearing. But now we're going to get some dojo stormers, but
I'll say it. So sometimes you'll get people that will be a brown belt at another dojo. Like there's another dojo that's in the area that gives brown belts pretty easily. Like I'll say after a year of doing their judo at their program, I don't know what dojo, if you don't know, I don't know if you know what dojo I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say names.
Well, there's 2 in my head that I'm thinking of. So
that after doing about a year of judo at their dojo, you get a brown belt. And at judo, if you have a brown belt, that's a pretty high belt rank in judo, because most people, it's sad to say, but a lot of people don't get past brown belt. A lot of people don't get to black.
That's the first belt that matters.
Yeah. It's a pretty high thing right there. And sometimes we'll get to people that come, and I've been told by people that come from I'm not going to say what dojo. I was about to say it right now, actually. No, can't do it, Juan. They have come to visit our dojo before and has literally told me, wow, you guys are really rough here. You guys are a little mean. You guys are really like into like just fighting. I'm like, well, that's judo. Like we're on the mat doing randori. That's what randori is. We're fighting. And it's just a different style, a different way of teaching and stuff where people are maybe focused on technique training instead of on the mat randori. And the reason I get this thing of, I like people on the mat showing what they can do and how they learn is because I go from like the Kano philosophy of like there's time and grade and there's time on the mat doing randori. And it was like you either get promoted by time and grade, which is learning the techniques, showing you done and stuff. You're not going to compete that often, but showing the techniques, doing that. And through time and grade, you get promoted that way. Or you go to competition and showing how good your technique is, whether you win or lose, you're out there fighting, doing judo practically, just doing practical judo out there. So that's where I come from when I get that. But the way with the pandemic, how we're talking about the pandemic again, is that you can't have people go compete all the time. And even there's not a whole lot of people even competing. We had people from our dojo go to tournaments all the way in Florida. And one of the guys did really well, came back with a championship. We only fought 2 people. He flew all the way to Florida. Yeah. He's running his podcast. He went all the way to Florida, fought 2 people and beat them. Great. That's fantastic. And normal tournament, that would be pretty decent. You'd fight like 2 or 3 people anyways, but you fight 2 people and you win his championship. And it's like, you flew all the way out there. You spend time on a flight, you spend time getting a hotel room, you spend money. It's just, oh man, all this work just to go fight 2 people. And there are stories I heard about people who went to this tournament in Florida that only fought 1 person. I don't know if it was, it was someone that followed me on Instagram that was asking me about that. They went to the tournament, faced the same person twice in a row, beat them twice.
Yeah,
and then
there's
won
a few people on Instagram that I talked with that went to that tournament. Yeah, they fought the first same person, best of 3.
Yeah. And that stuff's acceptable to me at a local tournament. I understand that, especially if you're an adult, you do best 2 out of 3 with the same guy. But if I'm flying all the way to Florida and we're in California, we're going all the way across the country, I want to fight at least 2 people. I want to fight 3 or 4 personally, but I want to do something out there. So with the way COVID is judging people on their competition, it really doesn't matter right now. Because
even before COVID, it's just like that still happens though. Like let's not even talk about like fighting the same person. Let's say 2 people. That's not a very good way of using competition to, judge someone's level of judo, just fighting 2 people in that weight class. I mean, we talk about the competition route and testing route all the time. And in bigger countries, like if you're talking about like in Europe or Japan, if you go to a tournament, you're going to fight at least 5 people. So winning that or medaling or doing well in that actually means something, I feel like. But here, just fighting the same guy like twice is not, or fighting 2 people doesn't really say much when you get gold that way. So, which is why I think it's not just the results. You have to see how they move and how they fight. Like, this past weekend, my friend Travis, we talked about him yesterday, actually, he just fought and I watched his video that they recorded. He linked it. I was like, wow, like his judo's improved so much. He didn't win. He lost all his matches, but I saw the way he moved was just so different from when he last visited us. I'm just like, damn, he's been training really hard. He actually looks like he's improved, even though, I mean, just other people were just better. And also one of them was a terrible call from the ref too. So what are you going to do about that? He lost all his matches. Does that mean he didn't get any better? Like, yeah.
There's nothing you do about it. Hey, this whole thing, the judges are blind. Well, what can you do,
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like competition is a good stage for you to show your quality, like you said, but I don't think the results actually matter that much, especially in America due to our lack of judokas and lack of tournaments and everything. It might mean more in other countries because of, like you said, like just higher level competition. So in order to actually place in those kind of places, that actually means something to me. So,
well, it's like you said right there, when Travis went out to compete, when I watch people compete, you sometimes get, I don't say blind about it, but when you see people compete against each other at the dojo regularly, it's just like you get used to each other's moods. You know what each other's going to do.
Yep.
So you really can't see the big improvements at the dojo, but at a competition, you can see like, oh, wow, he moved really well right there against that person. He really uses technique. So that's where, to me, like I said, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, but if you go to competition, you get a little extra brownie points with Sensei Juan, because I can see how you do against other people you're not used to. Where at the dojo, I can kind of like, most of the time I'm going to see your progression, but it's not going to be like, wow, like, oh man, they really improved this week, or wow, they really got that. You're going to have that moment. You are going to have those moments at dojo, but not all the time.
I think that's more important as you get to brown belt and above, which is why I've been wanting to compete again before I get my black belt, but it looks like that's not going to happen because of the.
Hey, you go to Texas, you go to Nevada.
No, not right now. Like,
tape up your knee. Let's tape it up. Suck it off your knee. We're going to mummify your knee here. Let's tape it up with all this tape and go out there.
I can't risk injury right now with my wedding so close. But
you will be a pimp. I'll get you a cane. You walk with a lift and stuff. Like, damn, Anthony look like he's from the hood today, man. He looked like he cholo out there. Look at that. Look at the way he's walking down that aisle. Look at the way. Look at that.
Yeah. But we mentioned before that one of the ways that you get better, well, the only way to really get better at competitions is just compete. Like competing is a skill in itself, and you have to do it very often. So I think for a novice to just go compete and then, oh, you did well, or you did bad, it's not a very good indication. So I think for all the belts underneath brown belt, you should be testing more on their fundamentals, like their understandings, the etiquette, the how not to hurt your partner, hurt yourself, do anything stupid, respect and all that kind of stuff. And the basis of techniques, like what is Kazushi? How do you move without crossing your legs? Like the defensive stance, like not stiff arming, all that stuff should be tested. And then once you get a higher level, when they have all those bases, then that's when you start seeing if they can put those together and use it in competition at that level. So again, I believe novice competitions are still important, but it shouldn't be weighted as heavily as it does in most dojos, I think.
That's where me and Anthony differ. He's more about, like that. He's more about testing. I'm more about competition, but that's the way we work out. You know, we're at the same dojo. He can see somebody like, hey, Juan, look at this. I'll be like, well, okay, that looks pretty good. And I'll tell him, well, let me see how he does that competition. And like I said, I don't care if you win or lose, as long as you go out there and do a good fight. You know, you're going to learn from it. It's going to show me what you've learned. And I can't test people that way right now. So we've had to gone back to our whole, well, let's go to traditional testing route. And at our dojo, we have a board on their side wall that actually, if you look right here, I'm pointing at, it's right here.
It's actually the other side.
Is it this side?
Yes.
No, it's this side?
No,
is it that side. It's on this side?
Literally this side.
Right there, maybe. We have a board, and the board has your belt rank on there. Underneath there, it has the techniques that you're supposed to learn for that belt rank. And the way we do it is, or the way that I do it and the way that Philippe did it, and we're changing a little bit also because things are evolving. And even since Eric now we're doing the beginner class, is that, so you want to get your yellow belt. So you have to know the few white belt techniques that are up there, your beginner techniques, and then all the techniques that are in the yellow belt block. If you can demonstrate all those techniques left and right decently, not sloppy, not dangerously, then you get your yellow belt, and so on and so forth, from orange to green to blue, purple, way it goes up. And yeah, I know we have purple, like, yeah, just the way it is. The weird thing was that it was a thing of how Sharp was promoting the way he wanted. He was trying to get a unified testing thing for USJA, USJF, and USA Judo, but it fell through. But he tested it at our dojo first, and we went through it, and we liked it. So we kept the board. You know, we liked the way it looked. It had pretty much all the techniques. So with us, what we normally do is, this was before the pandemic happened, before the competition became a rarity, is that you would do those things up to about green belt. And once you get the green belt, for us, you should be competing at that point and going to competitions. And very few people got their blue and purple belt. Most of the time you get your green belt and then get
most of them quit after belt. That. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people quit after that too, because judo's tough. Not everybody's cut out to do it. It's just how it is. But now for the first time, we're testing people like this latest crop of people we've had for a few years, because they don't compete as much. We've been testing for blue belt, testing for purple belt, doing proper tests for brown belt, which is like, what are you testing for brown belt? Okay, so they have to know everything. So, okay, so it has to be all right, so we'll pick one from here, two from there, three here, some Newaza from that one. And it's just, because one of our guys is asking like, well, sensei, how do I get my brown belt? How do I get my brown belt? What do I need to do? It's like, well, you need to know everything on the board. Do you know everything on the board right now? Can you show me everything left and right? Clean, nice, not dangerous. Okay. You're not sticking people's heads into the mat.
See, I think it takes a long time, like even for me to be decent at all those techniques. So, for example, if we take yellow belt, for example, I think when you test for a yellow belt, you should just look at whether they can do the technique mechanics, like kind of properly. It doesn't have to be perfect or great. And then when they go to their orange belt, that's when you're like, okay, the orange belts should be okay. And then can you do the yellow belts that you used to do better now? Like it should be like really clean and smooth. And same thing should be for the brown belts. It's like, there's no way you can be good at all those techniques on the board right there. So, so at least pick like one or two favorites. Cause back in my old dojo, they'd be like, okay, pick a combination or something, like something you're good at. Then that's where you demonstrate your bread and butter. Cause I feel like at Sankyu, at brown belt, you should already have like a favorite technique or combination that you rely on to throw people. Right. So that I feel like is one of the basic requirements for brown belt, and your favorite technique should be really clean and precise. But then, for example, I'm not a Seoi Nage person because I'm so tall. Then I should be able to demonstrate it, but I shouldn't be able to like combination and throw everyone with it or do some crazy variation.
I want you to get the shortest person in class. All right. I want you to get the beneath 4 feet person in class. I want you to do Seoi Nage to them.
Yeah. But it goes back to what I said about the earlier belts being the basic fundamentals, like learning your ABCs and then how not to get hurt. And then brown belt and black belt, that's when you start testing more of like, how have you put those things together for yourself, for your own judo? Yeah.
Well, it's also, to me, it's what we kind of hit this earlier, how some people will be really good at randori, will do really well at tournaments. You'd be like, wow, they're just too good to be an orange belt still. They're just too good to be a yellow belt. They're just too, I'm going really low. Actually, let's go higher. They're really good to be like a brown belt. I mean, not brown belt. They're good to be a purple belt. I mean, they're just too good to be a purple belt. They're just too good to be a blue belt, you know? So you want to promote them like, okay, they need stuff for competition. They know what they're doing. So you give them a brown belt. And they get their brown belt. Yeah. And this is a drill that I actually do in class because I like to test to see people's memories. And I always get people with this. I'm like, all right, people, let's do Newaza drills. And I'll tell people, get in Kesekatame. About 90% of the class will automatically know Kesekatame. All right. Get to Katakatame. 80% of the class will get to Katakatame. Okay.
80, that's kind of high. That's high. It's like,
it's high. I don't lower to that. All right. So I'll be like, Yoko Shukatame, back to 90% of the class. Oh, no, Yoko Shukatame. All right. I'll go, okay, go to Tate Shukatame. 20% of the class will be like, go up looking around.
Start looking around like,
what's Tate Shukatame? Where's Tate? Who's doing it? And I'll do my little joke, like, wrong one. And then everyone's like, is this one it? Nope, wrong one. Is this one it? Wrong one. And I always joke, Tate Shiogatame sounds like top mount. Tate Shio, top mount. Think of it that way. And they're like, oh, sensei. And then next week I'll do it again. And they're like, Tate Shiogatame. What's Tate Shiogatame? Or I'll be like, what is it? I'll be Kazure.
Kazure Kesekatame or something.
Yeah, I do like Kazure Kesekatame, like a really simple one like that. And they'll be like, they'll be laying in position, being like with their arms like flailing about, like, is this one over here? But this one, how about that one work? And that's what frustrates me, because you should know, in my opinion, you should know the 5 basic pins in judo. You should know the 5 basic pins and at least one variation of a Kazure version of it. And you get so many people that be like, I don't know what that is. Like, it's basic Newaza. And that's when it frustrates me. And I feel like sometimes I failed people when that happens.
I understand why you're frustrated and why you feel like you're responsible. And I mean, and the reality is, judo in America, most places only have classes like 2 or 3 times a week for like an hour or 2, and 3 if you're lucky. there's only so much you can do and only so much you can retain unless you go out, and there's only so much you can teach too. It makes no sense for you to teach like 5 pins every class, because then now you have 5 people that have people know 5 pins, but they're really bad at all 5 of them, right? 5 techniques and they're really bad at all 5 of them. It's kind of like Bruce Lee says, right? That saying like, I fear not the man who
5,000 ways.
Yeah. So I fear not the man who did 10,000 techniques one time, but like the guy who did one technique 5,000 times, 10,000 times, whatever. So you can only teach so much. And then it's up to the people themselves to go out there and study and practice it in their own hours and actually research and stuff, which is what I did, because for me, like, I was injured for so long that all at home, that's all I did. So you can't expect everyone to do that. Everyone has their own, like, some people have families, some people have jobs that they can barely make it judo. Some people are just not interested, they just want to train. So it reflects in that people don't know those more like Tateshi Okatame and stuff, because we don't really do it in class. And
well, it's not just that. It's not just the Newaza one. I think is the funniest one, because that's when they're like looking around, like what's going on? What's going on here? Where it's always like, oh, here's a little funny thing. Back when I was a brown belt, there was a higher ranking brown belt, and I normally do Harai Goshi, but for some reason I started wanting to learn Hanagoshi. I just thought it was a fun throw to do. It looked cool to me to learn Hanagoshi, and this brown belt was just like, he got it confused. I can't remember which one he got confused which way it was, but I was like, no, I'm gonna do Hanagoshi. He's like, why? And he was not saying I was doing Hanagoshi. Like, no, I'm doing Hanagoshi. I'm putting my inside knee bent, I'm doing Hanagoshi. He's like, oh, no, you're doing Harai-goshi. And it's even with that, with sometimes the throwing techniques, people can get confused, Harai-goshi, Hanagoshi. I know they sound similar to some people. And between the 3, I'd call them the 3 similar ones, is like Harai, Hana, and Uchimata. It is very similar leg movement for the 3 of them, So I can understand how someone can get confused just looking at the throw and not knowing the difference. But if I'm telling you what the throw is and I'm doing it, you should try to remember it. And the worst thing, this is a little pet peeve of mine, is that I'm teaching a throw in Japanese the way it's named. I hate when people go like when we do ippon sonagi, okay? And it was like that shoulder throw, that arm throw, and I was like, yes, that shoulder arm throw, but call it what it is, ippon sonagi, so you know what it is. It's about learning the judo language, so wherever you train in the world, you know what they're doing. You can always talk to a sensei, be like, yeah, I like doing taitoshi. They understand, okay, he taitoshi. I get that taitoshi. If they don't understand that they can at least understand taitoshi,
Yep. So going back to what you say, yeah, they should know that, but that's just how the human brain works. Like if you don't practice it or do it often, or even study it often, like flashcards and stuff, you're not going to remember it. Flashcards. Like there's a reason why all our yellow belts are all our people who have been here for like 6 or 7 months plus. They know what osotogari is. They know what ogoshi is. They know what ippon seonage is, because they do it often. Those are the 3 most common basic throws that everyone does, right? And those are also the ones they see on highlights most of the time. Most people do, or most instructionals on YouTube and stuff. But then you start talking about like surikomi goshi or like ukiwaza, like stuff like that. Nobody ever sees it or does it. You have to actually go out and look at it. And even there's that one night that Philippe taught ukiwaza. I bet you right now you go to our advanced class to someone that was there that day and you'd be like, what? Show me ukiwaza. I bet you they don't remember the name of it, because they did it only that one time. And it's kind of like how in college, for those of you who have been in college or even high school, do you remember like sine, cosine, and tangent, like the formulas? I don't remember it. I haven't used it since then. I remembered back then because I studied it, right?
Oh my God!
But when you don't use it, when you don't use it,
you get the Instagram thing now, or like the Facebook thing where people put up a math problem, like only 20% of people can figure out this math problem. Like, oh shit, do I remember how to do this?
Yeah. So when you don't use it, you don't practice it, it doesn't come up in your life. You're not going to remember it. It's just going to be forgotten. So even me, like I have to regularly go back, and like people joke around and say I'm like encyclopedia. It's just, I still have to go back and constantly look at these techniques and stuff all the time to retain the knowledge. For me, Newaza, all the Newaza variations are my weak point. Like, I can't remember all of them. there's just so many variations. And because in judo, we don't do newaza that much. And even though I do BJJ, we don't call it by those names either. So it's like, I don't remember it because of that. And yeah, so you can't really blame people for not remembering those obscure techniques, but which is why testing is important, because you test them that one technique for yellow belt. Good. They remember it for the test. Next year, you test them for orange belt. If you don't test them that thing again, they're going to forget it. So I feel like each belt level test should be longer than the other one. Like a yellow belt test should take like 10 minutes, maybe, right? Then an orange belt test should take 20 minutes because you're testing the yellow belt stuff plus the orange belt stuff. Then the green belt should take like 15, 20, 30 minutes or something because you're testing everything before that. That's how you retain knowledge, I believe, personally.
No, I get that. It's the thing about remembering the techniques and what they're called and what they do and stuff, or how they are executed. I get that a lot. So now let's get to about how we do test. To me, I'm not big on the whole thing of a formal, everybody sits in a circle, everybody gets in a line and says us, and that person comes up and demonstrates a technique to the entire class. I'm not huge onto that. I get it. I understand why. It kind of reminds me back to my Taekwondo days when you have to get in front of the entire class and do your katas and your breaks and all your kicks and stuff. It reminds me of that, where I'm more loose about it. And I know we were talking about this yesterday. You're asking me like, well, you didn't test so-and-so for his yellow belt. I was like, yes, I did test so-and-so for the yellow belt. I tested him technically 3 times because I'm not going to mention names and stuff because I don't want people and stuff, is that so-and-so would come to class early, stays class overtime, comes in class, works out on their own all the time. So they're showing me they want to learn these techniques. They're doing the techniques. They're giving that extra effort, which to me, brownie points, since Juan loves that. I love that shit. And they would come up to me and ask me, Sensei Juan, so what are the techniques I'm going to test it on? And I'd be like, okay, let's go to the wall. And I put my phone out because you have some techniques that are not on the wall that we test people on. And I'm like, all right, show me this. And they'll bring the practice dummy over. They threw it left, right, next one, left, right, doing all the techniques cleanly, not like sloppily, and like pretty good on a practice dummy. I'd be like, you know your stuff. In a few weeks when you're ready, if you want to test in front of the class, let me know, or you're on practice or you want to test formally after class, bring somebody and we'll do it again. And then like for 3 weeks in a row, every class, it was like, for like I said, like 2 or 3 times, you're like, Sensei Juan, can we go over this again? Sensei Juan, can we go? So I pretty much tested this person. Like I say 3 times, but probably more than that, actually. 3 times that they did all the techniques on the dummy, knowing what they were. So to me, it's like, all right, I pretty much tested this person 3 times already. They come to class early. They show what they want to practice. They show they want to learn this stuff. You want to know what? One day after class, when they were going to do their formal test, I was like, you want to know what? You don't need a formal test. You know everything. And I gave them their yellow belt and they're like really happy. And that's me, that I like doing that. To me, I don't have to test somebody formally, but I do get the whole thing of formal testing in front of people, like we've done with other members. You and Eric have done that. And we
so to give you context on that, when we tested those people, we didn't ask people to, usually after class, people leave, like they get changed and leave. Yeah. So we were like, you stay after class. We're going to test you, right? Everyone, like 90% of the class stayed afterwards, stood outside to watch. They wanted to watch, and I think that kind of gives people motivation and inspiration, or something to aim for. Because especially if you don't have a syllabus, people don't know what the test is going to be like. So now they're like looking at, okay, this is what I should be aiming for. I should be able to do that. Then they're mentally prepared, and when they're in class, when they do their techniques or uchikomis, they're going to be mentally preparing for that, like doing their uchikomis in order to be able to do that. But also there's pressure, right? When people are watching. So like some of them forgot I know they know the moves, but they forgot the name for a second because of the pressure, right? And
sounds like someone's got that to me.
That kind of simulates competition, if you think about it, in a sense, right?
Okay.
Because of the pressure. And that's why I think it's not required, but I think it's a good thing to have people watch. I mean, I'm not going to make people sit there and watch, because that's one thing I hated when I went to I paid like $200 one time for my first jiu-jitsu BJJ seminar. And I just sat there for an hour watching them promote people.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's when I realized I'm going to get a lot of heat for this.
I just paid to watch a promotion. Yeah. I just paid to watch a promotion. Wow.
It's fantastic. It's one of those seminars, not all seminars like this. It's just happened to be one of those seminars. It was a famous Gracie guy. Mm-hmm. And it's basically like a Q&A, take an Instagram picture with me kind of session. So he spent like half an hour on showing some technique that you'll never, ever use in competition. Mm-hmm. And then they had a Q&A session, and the rest of it was him handing out belts one by one to people. And that's when I realized, like, oh, these guys had to pay for a seminar to get promoted at the seminar. They're not going to get promoted unless they pay for this. So,
hey, if anyone wants to pay for me to come to a seminar and I'll promote some people, I'll give a couple of yellow belts out, just have Sensei Juan come over.
Yeah. So some of these big affiliations do this. That's how they make money. And that's why there's so much money in jiu-jitsu. But yeah, so I wouldn't force people to stay and watch basically. But I think there's a benefit if they do choose to stay and watch.
Now, this is another thing. So we're talking about testing for yellow belts and orange belts. I had to work 2 weeks ago. I was working was it a night shoot? It was a night or afternoon shoot. I wasn't able to make a class, but it was when two of our green belts, was it green or blue belts? They're getting promoted to their blue belts. That's what it was. Yep. It was two of our green belts getting promoted to blue belts. Were you there that night?
I was there, but I didn't see the test. Apparently Philippe tested them.
Yeah. Did you get to watch? Cause I know Philippe did test.
I didn't watch. He said, I was in the office talking to Sensei Gary, and then I came out and I just kept training. And then after class, they got their belts. I'm like, Philippe, I thought you were going to test them. And then he was like, I did before. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I guess I missed it then.
Yeah. Because what Philippe does that he kind of like me, where he doesn't like a big formal thing about like after class, everybody line up. It was more like, what he normally does, like kind of during class, and it's like, okay, everybody work on their own techniques.
That's probably when he did it. Yeah.
And he goes, okay, you two come over here. Show me this technique. Show me that technique. And he goes everything that's on the blue belt block right there. Show me all these things. Show me these chokes, and boom. All right. Demonstrate them nice. They're clean techniques, not killing each other. All right. Now you're going to get your blue belt. It was that kind of, we did this. You weren't there, but it was last Monday or Wednesday. I can't remember. I think it was actually last Wednesday. One of our members that wants to become a brown belt, and he's all wanted to ask like, what do I need to know? And we told him everything. You have to show me everything on the thing. But it was like, you're not going to test you on everything. It's just like, you have to know the basics of everything. Like you have to know what you're doing, because we're really trying to get out of that rut of show me this technique. What? Show me Taitoshi. What's Taitoshi? Show me Tomonage. What's Tomonage? We're trying to get out of that. So it's funny because it was kind of like a half test, because I know what Philippe was doing. He had him and another person on the mat doing some Newaza stuff. And he was asking him, show me this, show me that. And it's a funny joke because this whole time he's practicing. And there was one day where he was practicing a simple technique with one black belt. Then we had this other older black belt come over and give his 2 cents. Then we had another black belt come over and give his 2 cents. And then Philippe's there also. So I'm like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 black belts there teaching one technique to this guy. How many black belts does it take to screw in a light bulb, And that was happening again. So Philippe's doing like this soft test, and I know what Philippe's doing. I could figure it out. And he's asking me to do techniques and stuff. And that older black belt comes over and starts like, oh, you should like, and I'm like, nope, he's testing right now. He's like an informal soft test.
I think I know who you're talking about. It starts with it starts with a T, right?
Yeah. And he goes, oh, I know. I just want to help. No helping right now. No helping. No helping, no telling, no talking. All right. I'm trying to like push him away. Like nothing to see here. Go do some randori. Nothing to see here, people. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. I feel like one of the things that we should do that I like Philippe doing this time, and I think we should do more often, is promoting in pairs. Well, I don't have that luxury, obviously, right? But
well, we actually do. We try to get like at a time when, especially when it comes to black belt, we try to get like a crop of black belts at a time.
We
so
used
at least
to
2, 3, or 4 at a time to get promoted, but
nowadays
it doesn't always
work
out. Sorry,
it doesn't always work out. Yeah,
it doesn't always work out for people.
Yeah, so because when you promote in pairs, they have to do the uke part too. And when we tested the 2 yellow belts we have now, for the yellow belts, they were each other's partner, and I wasn't just judging their throws, I was judging their falls too, and whether they're being a good partner, and good partner as in like not being too loose and not being too tight and stiff. So that's something that I feel like is very often omitted during testing is evaluating their ukemi and their ability to be a good training partner. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree on?
No. I think I'm not gonna be like, nah, it's a terrible idea, Anthony. That's dumb. No, I think it's a really good idea, but like we said, it doesn't always work out. If it does work out where there are 2 or 3 people and they can all work together and we can evaluate everything, that works out great. But sometimes it doesn't. And the thing is that when it is somebody, if it's lower ranking, there's a lower rank, it's not so big if they don't take a good, I'm going to say they can't take a good fall because they have to take a good fall. But as long as they have good forward ukemis, back ukemis, side ukemis, I know they can fall well, you know? And I'll sometimes grab somebody and be like, well, let me see how you fall. And I'll grab them, I'll give them like a hara goshi or ogoshi or something to see how they fall, how they land. If it's a thud or if it's a nice slap, you know? And I'm like being nice. I'm not throwing someone mean to be like, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. Right?
It's very interesting how you can hear how bad a fall is. You don't even see it. Because sometimes I'd be like helping with a beginner over here and they hear a thud and I turn around. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I was like, that hurt, didn't it? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you got to slap harder or something.
Are they dead? But yeah, it would be great if there was like 2 people at a time that could always test, but it doesn't always work out. So you have to go around. So if I said throwing dummy, or you throw them yourselves, or you just watch your ukemi more to know what they're doing.
Yeah. If they don't have a partner, then you as an instructor should throw them, I think.
Yeah. And that's one thing that's lucky about us, that we have 2 really nice throwing dummies. Can you see them in the picture? No, they're not in my photo. We have 1 heavyweight throwing dummy and 1 lighter weight throwing dummy. That's great for the teens and kids. Well, not great for the kids, but it's great for the teens and the preteens. Yep. And then the bigger one, that's great for the adults and the bigger boys, you know? So that's one thing that we have that's fantastic to help us out.
Yeah. And it's not just, I was actually telling this to the other guys yesterday. It's not just your ability to take a fall. Like as you get better, the volumes of the throws are going to increase and sometimes it's going to be harder. So you should be able to take like 50, 60, 70, even 100 plus falls a night. I'm assuming you're not like, old, but
well, let's do the math. One of Philippe's techniques is us to get in groups of 3s and to throw each other 6 times each 3 sets. So how many throws is
That's what I had the beginners do yesterday when you weren't there. That's what I had to do.
You had them do that they had to do that drill?
Yeah, it was toned down. It was toned down. Okay. It wasn't as many, as the volume wasn't as high. I toned it down. They did like 50 falls that day, probably.
Okay.
So
all right.
Each person took like 50 falls around. Then yeah.
And no one was crying my back, my neck.
I did hear a complaint from someone because there was a new guy that had previous judo experience that was throwing kind of hard. But I told them at that belt level, you should be able to take it. I said, so yeah.
Great words of advice from Anthony. Just take it.
Yeah. But sometimes
you should have told the new guy like, hey, I know you've done this before, but remember the top to pull a person up. Okay. Thank God.
I told him, I told the guy who was complaining that you should be able to take it. But I noticed he was throwing another new guy at that same strength. And I had to tell him, hey, he's smaller than you. He's new. You can't throw him that hard. Was what I said. So,
okay.
But I didn't say it when he did to the other guy, just to this other guy, this new guy. So
you're picking favorites, I see. You can take it. You can't.
Yeah. Well, as an instructor, I feel like you should be able to know what level each person's at. And yeah, but
so we don't
need you, Juan.
You don't need me. I think you do need me. Because after class, I came over and you're like, oh, thank God you came, Juan. What would I do without you? I don't know. I came to the dojo that's half on fire. There was a fire truck outside. I was like, what's going on here? I don't know. Somehow we just threw so hard. There was a fire. So is there anything else about the promotions that you want to talk about? Any individual things besides so we've gone through the learning the techniques. We talked about
there is one other thing I want to discuss. It's what do you think about, so our national governing bodies, each one of the 3 has their own grading syllabus and everything, but let's be honest, nobody follows it. So what do you think, whether we should follow it, like whether the dojos should start following, or whether the governing bodies should start enforcing it. Like, we're not going to recognize your rank unless you did this. I know. Let's forget about whether people would be happy about it or not. Because I know for a fact dojo owners would be like, you know what, screw that. I'm not gonna do that, right? But whether you think it should happen, whether it's good or bad, and beyond that question, whether you think we should follow other country systems where you'd have to go to like there's testings done by the governing body like 3 or 4 times a year, and you have to go to a testing site and get evaluated, take a written test, do a competition, like fight people, and do the kata, like some form of kata.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a pretty loaded question there, Anthony. You screwed me over. No, so when it comes to doing like you said about a formal thing where like USGA, USGF, and USGA do have things of suggestions or what they
suggestions.
I'm saying. For me, when I did karate, when I did taekwondo, and when I taught karate also at community centers, it actually wasn't that hard to stay off the syllabus. For me, it's actually more easier for me to stay on the syllabus. But for some weird reason, when it comes to judo, everybody's just like this freestyle, like I don't say willy nilly, but just like people teach what they want to do. And I think it actually comes down to where some people can't teach what's on the syllabus, you know? Not everybody can teach a good tomonage. Not everyone can teach a good uchimata. The only damn reason I learned uchimata, it wasn't one of my throws. I love taitoshi, hanagoshi, haraigoshi. I love uranage. I can't teach that to people nowadays. I'll kill them. I love uranage. The only reason I learned uchimata is so I can teach it to people. And I actually do have a pretty decent uchimata. I have a pretty decent uchimata, not to say for myself or nothing, but like my uchimata is actually not that bad. But the only reason I learned it is because I had to teach it, because it's one of the more popular techniques. But when I did karate and taekwondo, it seemed pretty much easier. Like the federation or the governing body, whatever it was that was providing us the place to teach or do the stuff, it was easy to stick to it. And I think it's because when it comes to karate and taekwondo, it's a little bit more rigid system where you have to learn the high block, low block, all these things, the proper kicks. You learn this kick at yellow belt, these kicks at orange belt, these kicks at red belt, you know, you learn these things, they're these flying techniques, and each belt rank has a kata. Each belt from white belt to yellow belt, every belt rank to black belt. Much
more structured,
has a kata for each one you have to learn. Where in judo, we don't learn kata till we get to our black belt. Like,
that's the problem.
Kata's not a thing until we're black belts.
I know we talked about this before, but like the Judo kata was developed as a beginner kata. That's why there's no falls, because beginners don't know how to fall. Yeah, it's like a 6th dan test now. It's like
it's so beautiful. That's why if you look at it, it's a piece of art. You know,
they took this like beginner kata and made it into like a super high ranked like test. I just don't understand some of it. But to add on what you said, like I agree. Like some of the stuff on these tests, I'm like, why are you testing this? Like, I just don't understand. And that's the problem with the lack of testing, is that, like you said, some black belts don't know how to teach these techniques correctly. They're just like, they'll probably go home, look on YouTube, and then, okay, and now I'm going to test it based off of what I saw on YouTube.
Modern day would go on YouTube. Old day be like, I got to get a judo video, or pull up my best judo book out again, or my so-and-so judo book, and look at picture in picture. Okay, I put the foot there. All right, now I put there. All right, now I come here. All right, I think I got it. All right, honey, get over here. I want to show something to you real quick.
Yeah, so that's the problem with like the lack of testing, I think, is that you're not testing these techniques. And as a black belt, I think at the very minimum, you should be able to do the Gokyo. Like,
I think you should. Yeah. That's why they, like when I went to one of the kata clinics, they said why Nage no Kata's way it is, because it's at least the basic judo throws that develop into everything else. If you can do these, was it 15 techniques?
You can mostly do the other not variations, but the other stuff in the Gokyo mostly.
Yeah, and it makes sense when you do it all. And so from there, that's why I think it's pretty tough for people to get into sticking to the list of what's supposed to be taught from.
Yeah, the other problem I think with what you said was, it's not just the black belt not knowing how to do it. This problem is okay, I'll say it. These federations in the past, maybe even now.
Shit. Juan Rodriguez has no
have
Anthony's feelings.
That's how they make their money, right? Like these holding tournaments, membership fees, and then another revenue source is belt promotions and giving out certificates. And they have an incentive, especially for kids, to add those stupid stripe belt ranks now.
Oh, I hate those stripes.
And that's why there's stuff. Okay, now that we have more ranks, we have to stuff more techniques into there, like stuff the variations and stuff. So it's like bloating up these things. When I was a kid in Asia, to get my yellow belt, I just needed to know how to fall and also Togari and Ippon Seanage. 3 things. That's how I got my junior yellow belt. And that makes total sense. You just have to know how to fall in those things, right? So now you have like, what is the difference between a white belt and a yellow belt and a yellow belt, right? It's probably not much, right? Are we bringing those little
stripy belts now?
Yeah. So I feel like that's one of the problems is on the organization side is also because they stuffed all this stuff they're complicating things and they feel like each rank should have X amount of techniques, when I feel like the first rank, you should only test a small amount of techniques. The next one, you test a little more, then more and more you add up onto it, right? And also another problem of why nobody follows this or uses it is because for a while they were charging for the grading rubric. It's like, oh, you want to find out what's on the belt promotion test? You have to pay for this book.
Yeah. No, but that's a big thing. Like for me, coming up through Taekwondo and karate and stuff, that was a normal thing. Like I didn't realize till I started doing judo. I wrestled and stuff, but wrestling, you don't get tested. You're wrestling. You're just like, what level wrestler are you? I'm a varsity. I'm a state champion. I'm a national guy. I'm on this team, whatever that. Where in Taekwondo karate, it was like, yeah, you tested for your belt rank every 3 to 4 months when the belt testing was. You test for your belt rank. You tested for you paid. So we test for your belt rank and you test for your belt and stuff, or you go to competition. You pay for everything. You pay for your test. You pay for your belt. You pay to go to competition, and that's just a normal thing in karate, Taekwondo, and stuff. It may be different federation stuff, and that's the big McDojo thing is to make money off people. Where when I came to judo, I wouldn't say that like it's this big, refreshing big thing. It was like it was cool that we don't charge for testing. We don't charge it.
Money has to come from somewhere. Like
I know it.
We're already so cheap in America. It has to come from somewhere. The money.
But that was really cool thing to me is that when I went to Hollywood Judo, I didn't have to pay a fee to get tested. Okay. I didn't pay a fee for each belt rank that I got. It was like, okay, Juan, you've done these competitions. You're at this level. Here's your brown belt. Like, okay, do you have to pay anything for it? Like, no, Juan, here's your brown belt. But you do have to pay to register it with USA Judo or USJF or something. Like, damn it, I knew there was a catch somewhere.
I feel like as a recreational guy, when I pay my membership dues, like I get nothing out of it if I don't compete. And I feel like if they should increase the competition price and that way people who don't compete don't have to pay for the membership. But one thing I feel like I should get out of it as a member is testing and promotions and stuff like that. And I totally think we should go to a testing site and take a written test and all that kind of stuff, like how they do in other countries.
Now it's the second part of your question. How do I feel about formal group testing? Are we talking about are we talking about we're going to send all our white belts here to get tested for yellow belt? Or are we talking about higher ranks? Like we're going to send all our green belts to get tested for blue or purple, or blue and purple is getting sent to
both,
get brown?
Both. All
of it. Okay.
Yeah. Both. Now, what do you think about both? Like maybe up to green belt, you can promote within the dojo, and then like green belt and above, you have to send them somewhere.
To me, the problem with that is that, and it's a big new thing with science also, that people get very nervous, and you saw it during your own in-house testing. Some people get very nervous when they're testing and they'll blank on stuff. When people are trying to do left-sided throws, maybe for a kata, just blank for 3 minutes and can't figure out how to step right.
He's talking about me. Yeah, but that's why
stuff like that happens, And I saw that happen before when I went to kata, when I went to kata clinic, one of the kata clinics I went to, I saw that happen where at the dojo, they may have the kata down, or they may know all the throws at the dojo, and your sensei knows he's at this level, he knows everything. But once he or she goes to the clinic or go to the test, they get scared, they freeze, they get deer in the headlights.
See, I feel like that could be mitigated. For example, I took my motorcycle license test a couple of weeks ago, and I failed the written test for the first time, but you get 3 tries. So I think that would mitigate it. You get 3 chances, right? And that's the reality of life. It's like you only get 1 shot at something. You only get 3 shots at something. There's pressure. You can't not everything's it's a combat sport. There's pressure involved.
No, here's a little funny Tong Sudo story. Some people might not know this. Some people might know this, might not know this. So I always go back to Tong Sudo because that's my main karate style. So some people may or may not know Chuck Norris. Okay. When Chuck Norris was in Korea, when he's in the Air Force, and that's where he learned Tong Sudo, real Tong Sudo and Korean stuff. When he tested for his black belt, he messed up on one little thing, like one simple. I thought that the way the story goes, I thought like he messed up a full kata or did something bad. Like, no, when I read his book, like he messed up on one little thing in a kata or something, one simple thing, and failed his first black belt test. And he says, this is like thing of building people up. He always says that one failing his first black belt test made him work harder to become better.
Exactly.
So he wouldn't fail the second time.
Exactly.
But I also built a mentality inside Chuck Norris where he became a notoriously hard tester. The higher you went up, the harder the tester was. And he would look to fail people. This is supposedly from other people that used to train with him.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
Yeah, that he would look to fail people in their black belt test because he thought that would like build them up and make them stronger and stuff. And I don't, like I said, I don't like that. I don't know. I might be too nice when it comes to this, maybe because I don't like doing formal tests in front of people, I guess. But I don't like the whole thing of this. Someone messes up at a formal test and they're totally failed. But I know that they know everything. I know they're that good. I know they know all the throws and help me teach or their assistants sometimes. Like I said, like you know all your stuff. You know how to do most techniques left and right. Like we always joke about you being the judo encyclopedia for us at the dojo, where there'll be names where I'll forget the name of somebody like, Anthony, what's this name called? And you help me out. Or I'll be the American wrestling name. What's this Japanese name for this thing? I can't remember right now. And you'll tell me. But when like on Saturday, you showed me a video of you and Matt working on kata, and you for like 3 seconds or a minute, like couldn't do left or right. Like you
blanked
had a
out
little
there. It's like I didn't understand. He kept saying like left, that foot. I just totally like, wait, I don't
start
forgot how to speak English.
So because of that, if that happened at a test and you came back to the dojo and said, yeah, says Juan, I messed up.
Yeah,
so I failed. I'd be like, how did you fail? You know everything. How did you fail?
Yeah, but that's on me. I failed during the test. And that's the definition of a test, right? So
I know
I'm kind of,
I didn't like SATs either.
Yeah. Like I know, for example, when Philippe watches me do the kata, if I mess up, he's going to be more lenient. And also worst comes to worst, I'll do it again next week. Right. And that's why I'm not really nervous about it. I'm still working hard, but I'm not really nervous about it. Right. But
all right.
I feel like it's good I feel like it's good to have that little bit of pressure.
Right. We'll get some tigers next time to do it.
Yeah. It's just, I agree with Chuck Norris. From that story you told us that it's good for your personal growth. Some people need that little bit of push. And I mean, yeah, if and when I get my black belt, I will still feel accomplished by it because of all the work I put in. But I feel like some people would value the belt a lot more if they had to like go through trials and a little more harder for it to do, you know? I mean, think about it. From a perspective of a new person, if someone's randomly one day is like, oh yeah, here's your yellow belt. I feel like you're right there versus getting tested for it and you had to prepare for it. And then you pass the test and in a sense, it's like, good job. You passed the test and here's your yellow belt. Which one would you value more? Right.
Well, the testing situation, it's just, and this is because I come from a karate background and stuff. There's some karate styles and most of Taekwondo, it's a full test all the time stuff. But there's some karate styles where they don't test at all. And there's some karate styles where you test very rigidly. Like Chuck Norris did a big rigid test. There's a very funny story that Billy Blanks, that some people might know him from Taibo. The guy who created Taibo. The way he got his black belt, it's just like he was after class.
I didn't know he had a black belt.
You didn't know he had a black?
I didn't know that.
Billy Blanks back in the day was a badass karate black belt. When he was doing heavyweight competitions and stuff, he was a badass guy, part of the U.S. national karate team and stuff.
Wow.
Bad man. You don't want to mess with Billy Blanks back in the day. Nowadays, you might just dodge his Taibo and stuff. But so in Black Belt magazine, he was talking about how he got his black belt. He was after class one day, just mopping the mats, and his sensei just came up to him and threw a black belt at him. I was like, congratulations, boom, like that. And there's some old school karate styles that are like that aren't big formal testing. It's just like, okay, you accomplished this. Here's your black belt. So I see the pros and cons of both of them.
Mhm.
I get the whole thing. Like you want to test somebody to make sure they know it and they come under pressure. And I come the other direction where it's like, okay, but if they know everything, I don't have to test them. If I know he knows everything, I think they can do everything. And that goes back to me again, being a competition guy for judo. I'm more on the competition side. If I see you do well competition or I see you improving, I can see you can do it against other people, I'm more on there. But there are some people that I do feel should get tested that aren't good competition people that, you know what, maybe he's more of a testing person. You know, we should maybe test him for a brown belt.
But it should be a route, I think. It should be I don't think there's one solution. There should be different routes.
Yeah. And since you so much want this formal testing, I think I'm going to do a nice thing for you now. I'm going to get a whole dojo full of people and get some crocodiles, you know, a flaming pit to do kata and stuff. It'll be real interesting now. Call me Dr. Juan. Yes, Mr. Anthony. You have come again for the test, I see.
Well, I think one of the things that Travis Stevens in that American judo system thing that they talked about, I think, or heavily implied was that you should be able to take a video of your, I know some people do this, like Dave Roman did this. They videotape themselves doing the kata and then they emailed it in. So the panel judges it and then they approve it. What do you think about that? Like whether you should, that way you don't have to travel, right?
Oh, no.
Assuming you don't have to do the competition part, but.
Well, we've done that before, actually. Before, when Hollywood Judo was doing everything through USJF for the most part, we would have to either go to a clinic and demonstrate our kata or go compete. Now that we're doing our more black belts we're doing more of our black belt stuff through USA Judo. It's more up to the teachers, the instructors, what they want to do. So when you were doing it through USJ,
you got to clarify it's up to, if your sensei is up to a certain rank.
Yeah, up to a certain level. Like Sensei Philippe is a 5th Dan, so he can critique what you did and he has the right to promote.
Yeah, if you're a Shodan under USA Judo, you can't just promote anyone you want like that.
Yeah. Because he's a 5th Dan, he's allowed to do it and stuff. Me, the 3rd Dan, I can give my opinion, but I can't promote people. not that easily, at least. So when you're through USJF, you either had to go to kata clinic and you have to perform it there. You have to go to the clinic and then perform it afterwards to get your certification that you've done it. Or you go to a competition, kata competition, do it there. That way the kata instructors can see you do it and accomplish it. And there you can also put it, when you put in your application, you're like, did it at this competition. They can look it up. Oh, they went to this competition, did it. They must know it. You get passed. The third way of doing it, and this is what one of our other black belts, the way he got his black belt was that he's a big boy. He's a really big guy. He's a really big gentleman. Not a lot of people are able to get him off of kata guruma.
Yeah.
So what he did it with a smaller person, of course, because most people are going to be smaller, is that he got videotaped with him doing the kata. And he had to demonstrate like some extra falls or some other things with, I can't remember exactly, it's so long ago now, but he had to demonstrate him doing it, videotape it. And then he had to send it to one of the kata instructors of Nanka to get it approved. And I'm not sure if he got a certification from it, his certificate, or if they just approved him for it. But all those 3 ways were through USJF. With USA Judo, it's the same thing for the most part. You can either go to a clinic and do it, do it at a tournament, or do it in-house at the dojo and we judge you. You're doing it in-house getting through the dojo. Yeah. Our last crop of black belts, the last 3 got promoted.
They did it through the clinic.
They went to the clinic and did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's different routes. We always say there's different routes and ways, especially right now with the pandemic and stuff happening. I don't even know if any tournaments are even having kata competition right now. Yeah. I think most tournaments are just doing randori, not randori, just doing shiai.
If you think about it, kata competitions are actually the safest thing to do because you have a partner that it's like a pod, right? You're always training with this guy. You go there and you're just with that guy, you demonstrate the stuff and you're not fighting random people.
Yeah. You could probably keep a mask on the entire time too, I think, for the most part.
My mask kept falling off when I was practicing it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
You must be doing something wrong.
Yeah, I probably was. Well, it's like when he's on my shoulders, like it brushes against the ear loop. And yeah.
Okay.
One more thing is, have you checked out the Kodomo no Kata that the Kodokan put out?
No,
the children's kata, basically.
Oh, there's a children's kata.
Yeah, they debuted it after the World Championships in 2019, I think. Don't quote me on that. But it's like a kata for kids that teaches all the basic falls, all the drills, like, a lot of the stuff we do for kids, like how to falling off of people's backs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's basically converting all that stuff into kata for kids to do. And I think the Kodokan worked with the French Judo Federation because, judo in the French school system is huge. So they have a lot of experience teaching kids. So they went with the Kodokan and created this kata. And it's still kind of new, so I haven't really seen anyone adopt it, but it'll be interesting if that's like that kata is part of the children's belt test. I think that'll be cool.
Maybe since you and Eric have the children's program at our dojo, maybe that's something you guys could talk about, maybe bringing in. So you get the kids to all learn something and they can all work on something together. Yeah. That was one thing that Sensei Gary talked about, one of our head instructors, Gary, when he was young, when he was a child when doing judo, that was one of the things that kids loved, or I would say loved, or I don't know, made them excited when they saw one of their classmates get a yellow belt. They're like, oh, what's that? I want that. How do I get that? And then when another kid got an orange belt, like, ooh, what's that one? I want that one too. Get the kids like engaged to get something. That
especially for kids, making them sit around and watch the test, I think is a good thing in that sense.
Okay,
yeah,
there would be something to add to your guys' little thing there because it's something that they all have to learn formally.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk to Eric about it. But yeah. The kata, I also think, forces the kids to like train their focus and attention.
Pay attention.
Well, yeah, you have to be pretty focused to do kata. You can, like, for example, I was like worried about being recorded and I blanked out, like I said. So you have to. It takes a lot of focus and attention. So it might be a good thing for kids to learn.
That's something interesting to bring out. All right. Is there anything else, Anthony?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. I hope this gives some little information about what we think about testing nowadays and how we have to change our outlook on things and how we test people like me. Like I said, I'm more of a competition guy because of the COVID outbreak and where things are going. I now test people. It's something that I'm not a fan of doing, but we have to do. I want to promote people, so I got to test people.
As you can tell, I'm pretty happy about it. So
he's like, yes, finally. You see, Anthony, he's wearing this beautiful white kimono gi. He's never worn it before and stuff. Has this brand new belt that he calls his testing belt for people. He sits down and says,
well, I do have a competition only gi, but I don't have a specific belt.
He suddenly puts on this really big, thick black beard that's really long. I don't know. All right. So there's nothing else you want to talk about. That's it then.
Yep.
All right. So everybody, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to hit me up, you can hit me up at @Jerry_Juan on Instagram. You can hit Anthony up at Tatami Talk. You hit Anthony up. Well, you actually hit us both at Tatami Talk on Instagram. You can hit Anthony up at Anthony Throws on Instagram. You can send us messages on our YouTube channel at Tatami Talk. You can also hit us up if you want to hit us up directly through emails at tatamitalk@gmail.com. Anything you want to promote or talk about? Anything else?
Yeah. You want to promote your no-gi videos more? we were talking about that.
I know we were talking about that. I was like, should I promote it again? I don't know. Just people do know I do have some no-gi throwing videos at Catch Wrestling Alliance. You can look them up on YouTube or look up their website. There are 5 throws. I teach them each about like 4 different ways how to do them no-gi style. And, it's something that helps out me. It helps out their channel as well and what they show. And it's something that people don't really think about is no-gi throwing. And it's not that different. It's not that hard. I know some judo players are like, no-gi throwing? That doesn't work. It's like, no, it totally does work. It helps out a lot of people. Look at Rhonda, look at Kayla, like look how they threw people with no-gis. It works. All right. All right. So this should be it. Anything else?
Yep. That's it.
All right. Peace out. Have a good week.
Peace out. Bye.